Whew. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of A Place for Humans podcast. I am Dakota. I am the host of A Place for Humans podcast. And this is the reboot of the podcast. This is episode 16, I think. And we took a couple month break. I was traveling the world, hanging out in India, going around Eastern Europe and Turkey. And there's a story that some of you guys were asking me to share again. And that story is about, so there was this Agori Baba. I talked about the Agori in the last podcast. The Agori are these kind of black magicians of Hinduism. They're the darker side of Hindus that most people don't even know that they exist. The cannibals, and it's like basically the witchcraft version of Hinduism. They meditate on top of dead bodies. Where's that book at? It's too far. I got this book, the Agora series, a series of books, 3 books, and it talks about some of these rituals, the Shava Sadhana, the corpse spiritual practice, where these Agoris will pull these dead bodies out of the water of the Ganga, or they somehow find dead bodies, and they'll build a candle in the mouth of a dead body, light a candle, do a circle around the body. They cover themselves in human ash, and then they'll do some meditation on top of the dead body. This is called Shava Sadhana. And so anyways, I was hanging out with some of these guys when I was in India, some of the guys that get into this kind of stuff. I don't know why. I don't know how I always find myself in these interesting positions. But anyways, I was there hanging out with this guy. He's basically a naked guy covered in dead human ash. He rubbed some on my forehead, and it's just like any other family vacation. And I meet this guy, Kashi Baba, on the burning ghats of Varanasi. Varanasi is this ancient city. It's one of the oldest inhabited cities on earth that's still functioning. Millions of Indians live there. It's the most sacred city for Hindus. Hindus from all over the world want to die there. They believe it's the city of Shiva, Kashi. And the Ganga, they revere the Ganga, the Ganges River, as being a goddess incarnated, and the Ganga comes out of Shiva's hair and falls to earth. And they want to die here because they believe that cleansing yourself in the Ganges River will liberate you from this cycle of death and rebirth. All your karma will be cleared. You won't take another body. And karma is an interesting thing I'd like to talk about one day. But for now, we'll continue this Agori story. So, Kashi Baba is this kind of dodgy, short little guy. When he talks, he just kind of looks like he's looking through you instead of talking to you. And I was just trying to find Kashi Baba again. Okay, well, so Kashi Baba was giving us a rundown of what it is to be an Agori, and giving us some of the history of Varanasi, which in Varanasi they do these cremations because people like to be killed, not killed, but because people like to die there or have their bodies burned there next to the Ganga, the Ganges River. People go there to die. So, and then they have these open cremations. You can go out on the water in a boat. You can rent a boat, and the shorelines are just sparkled with bits of light, like a night sky. But instead of a night sky, it's actually just humans burning. Their dead bodies are burning there inside the fire, and and you can go up and watch the flesh burn away off the body. So Kashi Baba was walking us around the burning ghats. He gave me this human ash as a gift. And as he was giving me this human ash, that's a weird gift to be given. But in the moment, I took it as being kind of like a magical thing. I was like, oh man, what the fuck? I'm in India. I'm in Varanasi, the craziest holy city on earth, where there's bodies burning next to me. There's people. The crazy thing is that there's people bathing next to where the bodies are burning. They bathe in the water. They do their dishes in the water. They do their laundry in this water. And there's trash in the water and dead things floating in the water. And it's just like, it's a whole different world. So I'm overwhelmed and stimulated by all this craziness that's happening. And this crazy magician guy is giving me human ash, telling me, well, you know what he told me? He said, don't tell people that I gave you this because you'll develop pride. And this is, well, it's not, well, I failed the test because I told everybody, but man, I'm not a sadhu, you know? I don't give me these gifts. Don't put this burden onto me of having this relic of black magic lingering with me in my luggage. So he gives me these human ashes, and as he gives me the human ashes, his robe catches on fire because he's lurking through the kind of cremation grounds, right? So there's hot embers on the ground, and there's bodies everywhere, and it's a crazy sight to see. And I'm watching him bend over and start scooping up this ash. And as he's scooping up the ash, an ember lands on his robe, and his whole robe in the back catches fire. And I'm like, fuck, I should have took that as an omen, if anything. So, fuck, Kashi Baba gives me these ashes, gives me this rundown, staring at me through my soul, telling me not to tell people about it. So anyways, I had a bunch of weird things happen with this ash. I had a friend have a dream that there was an Indian guy locked up in my room. So that was a weird thing. And where I had the ash, I had it on my puja table, my little altar, you could call it, where I keep all my, my sacred things, pictures of people I love, Shiva statue. I put it there, and I always felt like there was someone watching me from that corner of the room, and it just felt weird. And I was like, man, what am I doing? I'm not in a gory. I don't need this, Yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting to have and to think about the temporary nature of life, and to think about my place in the universe and how this is all going to be reduced to ashes, that one day I too will be just the dust on some guy's body, or just the dust of the universe. All this will be diminished to the dust of the universe, to Shiva. This is what Shiva represents. Shiva represents the destructive aspect of the universe. He represents destruction. So I decided, after a year of having the gift from Kashi Baba, I decided to return the ashes to the Ganges River, because I was like, this is where they wanted to be, and even if it's only symbolic for me, and that it's just, what difference does it make if they're in the Ganges River or if they're anywhere, And so I figured this is where they wanted to be, and it's symbolic for me to return them to the Ganga, to Varanasi, where they wanted to be. Like, I understand these rituals somewhat if you're a sadhu and this is your lifestyle, but it's like, I'm just a guy, I'm just I'm not a sadhu, so I don't need I'm not covering myself in human ash every day or anything like that. So it's like, I don't need that. So I returned it, and I wanted to find Kashi Baba to do this with me, to do some mantras with me, or to just hold a kind of a space while we released this energy and this story back to where it belongs, or to come full circle. I find the guy who was hanging out with us. He introduced me to Kashi Baba. I find this guy, and he tells me Kashi Baba's in jail. So fuck. So I'm, talking to my friends I'm traveling with, and they all know that this moment was building up, and that I was waiting to return these ashes. And my friend Jamie goes, "You thought you were sadhu enough to take these ashes, so you have to be sadhu enough to put them back into the Ganga." In other words, he's saying that you thought you took them. This is your responsibility. You took them, and they are your responsibility. You don't need, because I was kind of bummed out, like, oh fuck, man, like who am I to put them back in the Ganga? Like, they need a sadhu, someone that's, a priest to put them back in. And he was just like, what are you talking about? You're dumb. What's the difference between you and a priest? Or, we're all in the same position ultimately, and this was your responsibility. This fell into your life. This became your story for whatever reason. Put it back if that's why we're here. So I decided, yeah, you're right. Kashi Baba's in jail. I don't know why he went to jail, ripping someone off, or I don't know what kind of mysterious little stuff he was getting into. God, Kashi Baba. So, so we wake up the next morning. It's about 5 a.m. We go to Asigat, and we rent a boat, and we go out for sunrise, and we all sit there in silence, share some of our thoughts, sit there in silence, and I put them back in the Ganga. I put the ashes back, and my friend Jamie started crying, and he was just like, man, we had some emotional music playing. And it's just crazy. It's like, man, that's a life. That was a life. That was a person there. And the journey that those things went on, man. And a lot of you guys asked me to update you on this story because I made a video about it. And it's a real personal one. I feel weird sharing that story, but yeah, crazy. Life's an adventure. Life is a crazy adventure. And I feel happy that those people or person is free and liberated, and they're home. They're where they want it to be, and not that you can't be home wherever you're at, or that home isn't everywhere. But stories are all we have. That's all we have. We're just hoarders of experience and collectors of old things and memories, and we're like magnets. We just kind of take on all these different identities, and we say, this is who I am in this moment, this is who I am in this moment, as we collect more and more and release and collect and release and collect. These stories are all we have. It's all we have of who we are. Symbols, and it's what makes life meaning. It's what gives us, it's what carries us into the next moment. It's the wind that of our ancestors that has blown to this moment, to us being here. This sense of self, because if we didn't have a sense of self or these stories that we collect, then what would the point be? And then some people argue there is no point. Some people argue there's no point. How can there be a point in this universe? Maybe there's not a point. Maybe there's not a purpose, but in that alone, it gives so much purpose. The fact that nothing matters leaves open the vulnerability for everything to matter. It's like everything's going to end. So that makes me love it in some profound way. It's a paradox. Life is a paradox. We are one with everything, yet we remain separate from everything. We can't live through that oneness because we wouldn't exist. But we are without a doubt one with each other. We are all connected through some energy, some divine, mysterious, cosmic force that just puppeteers us all into this drama that we call life, this theater, that we have created for ourselves somehow, or that we just managed to wake up here. We've managed to wake up in some dramatic theater that we call whoever we call ourselves. The life of Dakota, where I hang out with weird cannibals that do black magic. You know, it's a weird world. It's a weird world. It's weird to be alive. And the weirdness just doesn't end. I don't get how people are bored. How are you bored? You're weird. Not only are you weird because you're bored, but you're weird that you exist. And embrace your weirdness, because it helps you be who you are a bit. Like, fuck, man, this is a weird experience. And maybe it happens all the time. Maybe we live an infinite amount of lives, which is still fucking weird. But if this is our one life, as the divine guru Sri Drake once said, he said, YOLO, you only live once. That's the motto, YOLO. So if this is our only YOLO, if this is our only life, that's weird. And that's a mystery that we shouldn't just shrug off and let go past us like it's meaningless. Even if it is meaningless, that's what gives it the meaning. So, shout out to Drake, my guru. Now she want a photo. You already know, though. You only live once. It would be crazy if we only live once. What's crazier? If we only live once, or if we live a bunch of times? An infinite amount of times, if we never stop. Sorry, I'm getting possessed right now. Yeah, I don't know what's crazier. Is it crazier to be born once, or is it crazier to be born an infinite, eternal amount of times? Either position is too much to handle. I don't like thinking about either of them. Because where does that leave us, man? Where does that leave us? If this is the only chance we get, or if we get an infinite amount of chances, what does that mean? What does that mean? What the fuck does that mean? And it's weird, because we're in this position that other animals don't seem to be in, where we have woken up to the weirdness. We can communicate with each other about the weirdness. Whereas a dog or a cat or something, they're not concerned with that. They're just concerned with whatever they're concerned with in the moment, But we exist in so many levels at once. Like, yeah, we're in our primitive monkey mind is in control a lot, We are distracted by our senses and controlled by our lust, our anger, our jealousy. But there's a part of us that recognizes that it's like that those things are ultimately pointless, and that the weirdness, there's a part of us that is always existing in the weirdness. Yeah, I don't know, man. The human story is such a strange one, and I think it's a lot older than we think it is. I was just in Kaharan, Tepe. And that's the sister site of Göbekli Tepe. Some of you guys might know what Göbekli Tepe is. Göbekli Tepe is Turkish for pot-bellied hill. Pot-bellied hill. It's a pot-bellied hill, And this hill was intentionally buried about 11,000 years ago. And what was buried there is the most significant archaeological discovery ever. It's a 12,000-year-old megalithic structure, the biggest megalithic structure ever created, and it was created by what mainstream archaeologists say were hunter and gatherers. This is before agriculture, so before we were planting seeds, before we were creating pottery, before the wheel, and before written language. So somehow before all these things, these people managed at the end of the last ice age to build the biggest megalithic structure that human beings have ever created. This is 5,000 years older than the pyramids. It's an insane find that is really challenging our origins of civilization and challenging our ideas of what it is what the human story origin is. They think it could be the first temple. And it's got some very interesting carvings there. Some very beautiful 3-dimensional carvings. Some of these T-shaped pillars that you find there, these giant pillars that are aligned to true north and south and have astronomical alignments and are built in circles. And these things seem to me that you would need some kind of culture and tradition that stems longer than 50 years or 1 or 2 generations. I feel like these are things that, like, these people, we thought these people were just like hunting with like spears out in the, in the woods. But apparently 12,000 years ago, these people were also cutting giant stone pillars out that weigh 20 tons and dragging them around and erecting them up into circles. And they don't find any suggestions that these people were living at Göbekli Tepe. There's no signs of trash. There's no signs of bones. I think they did find some bones, but not enough. No pottery or any house, anything to suggest that they're houses. It seems to be some kind of place of worship. And it's a really interesting site. But Kaharan Tepe is this place I visited, and they just started excavations 2 months ago. And here they believe that they found the settlement of the people of Göbekli Tepe. So if these people had a settlement, and that means they were living, and they weren't just nomadic hunter-gatherers that were moving around with following animals and stuff like that, but they had their own houses. I don't know what this says about our history. It says that we were wrong is what it says, but how this is the end of the last ice age. So how long ago? How old are humans? If we already had the capacity to build megalithic structures, to have 3-dimensional advanced carving techniques already down. What I mean by that is that they carved out around the rock, so these animal figures popped out of the rock as if it was a 3-dimensional object. Usually you would think you would carve into a rock. I'm going to carve something into a rock. But they carved out around the rock so that these animals are popping out of the stone at you. Like, this is an advanced stone carving technique. You don't just figure this out unless you have a social structure where people have time. And this usually the way this would work is that your father was a stone carver, your grandfather was a stone carver, and if you're being like a hunter-gatherer society, where do you have the time, especially if you don't have language, you don't have written language, you don't have domestication of animals, you don't have agriculture, you don't have homes and settlements. How are you doing this? You would need an advanced social structure that allows for these different, because for one, learning how to carve stone does nothing for your tribe. What are you adding to the betterment of the daily life of the tribe, of a nomadic hunter-gathering tribe, if you need to collect food or build a temporary place to live? Stone, you don't have time to stone carve or to make huge structures. So it makes sense that these people probably were living somewhere. And we found Kaharan Tepe. And Kaharan Tepe is this amazing infant site that, like I said, 2 months ago began excavations. They found some really interesting things so far. They found tons of T-shaped pillars. You find scattered all over this mountain. T-shaped pillars, again, intentionally buried. No one knows why it was intentionally buried. Maybe to preserve it. Maybe, who knows? Maybe they were sacred sites or something. But the amount of effort that would have took to intentionally bury these sites would have, again, is an insane feat as almost as building these sites. So at Kaharan Tepe, you have these huge T-shaped pillars again, the same ones you find at Göbekli Tepe. Some of them have carvings in them. I've seen some of these carvings myself. There was a snake. There were some anthropomorphic figures, were half animal, half man. A horse snake. Some kind of half man, half animal thing that was taken away to the museum. And I'm one of the only people that have seen this in person so far, outside of the archaeologist and the people that own the farm, who are the people that gave me a tour around. Not many people have seen this yet. So it was very incredible, and I'm very honored to have the opportunity to see that with my own eyes. How crazy. And even the Romans lived here too. So you walk around and you find Roman pots and stuff broken, and it's insane. It's an archaeologist's wet dream, or anyone that's into history. It's just a wet dream all over. And it's in the middle of nowhere. It's really close to the Syria border. So right now it's not recommended to visit there. But I didn't care, and I knew I'd be okay. So I went there, and Kaharan Tepe blew my mind. I actually went there before I went to Göbekli Tepe. Oh man, beautiful, 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 absolutely incredible. And I again feel so humbled that I'm one of the before the main excavations even happened. This is just the start of the excavations. This is its infancy, and I'm excited to see how it unfolds from here. It's going to be, this is going to turn into another Göbekli Tepe. And they believe they found pottery here. They found pots made of stone. They found tools here. They found bones, crocodile bones, cheetah bones, lion bones, giraffe bones, all these crazy kind of animals I didn't even know existed in Turkey. So they didn't find any domesticated animal bones, so nothing to suggest that they were breeding goats and cows and this kind of thing. So yeah, Kaharan Tepe, and there's a couple other sites. Can't think of the names off the top of my head, but these T-shaped pillars are found all over Şanlıurfa, all over that region of Turkey. Like this was a civilization. This was a civilization that was 11,000 years ago, 12,000 years ago, and for miles and miles. And Kaharan Tepe to Göbekli Tepe is 30 miles. So these people were walking potentially 30 miles to do their worships and sacrifices and religious stuff, perhaps at Göbekli Tepe, and were living at Kaharan Tepe and in groups in different areas around Göbekli Tepe, it looks like. Absolutely insane that we didn't think a civilization. This is a lost civilization is what it seems to be. And we didn't think that this was possible. We don't find any evidence of writing yet, so we don't know anything about them or who they could have been. But yeah, it seems that we've come across a lost civilization. So Kaharan Tepe, we will see over the next 10, 15 years it become a major site like Göbekli Tepe where people are visiting, and it may even be more significant than Göbekli Tepe as it could be the settlement itself, and who knows what they're going to find there. Man, they're going to find crazy stuff. I already know. They've only excavated a tiny portion of it. Maybe the size of two of my houses, and it's not a lot. But they can tell with ground penetrating radar that it's huge. So that means these structures, man, these are the biggest megalithic structures, and it's just scattered for miles and miles and miles and miles. These people were not just hunting and gathering. Like, you're dumb, mainstream archaeology, you're dumb. And you're probably a little stupid too, because they were clearly chilling and making huge structures all over the place. This is a civilization. This is what a civilization does. This was a huge settlement of people that had a culture, a thriving culture, and and knowledge that apparently we find nowhere else in the world. So maybe this is the first civilization. Or maybe civilization is a lot older than we think it is, and some kind of cataclysmic event happened in which, asteroid, flood, that, these things are talked about in lots of ancient traditions. Maybe something happened and we had to start over. And that's maybe they started over. Maybe that's the start over point right there. Or maybe that's just, I don't know. I'm not sure. Kaharan, Tepe, man, Turkey was really fun. I love Turkey. Where else we go? I went and saw the tomb of Rumi. Rumi is a poet, and I guess you could say like the guru of Sufism. And he says a lot of beautiful stuff. Me and Shemail went there, and yeah, that was cool. Really hard to find food. You don't find any vegetarian or vegan food, especially in those areas in Turkey. It's so hard, man. Just living off pomegranates and oranges and pasta. We went to Pamukkale. Pamukkale was awesome. It's these huge white not limestone. They're like limestone flats. And there's a bunch of warm water and hot springs there. And there's a big Roman city. That was cool. Went to Aphrodisia. Aphrodisia is the mythological city of Aphrodite that they thought was a myth, but turns out it's a real place. And it was uncovered by a photographer who saw some pillars sticking out of the ground, took some pictures of it, brought it back to some archaeologists. They went there, and here it is, this mythological city of Aphrodite. And that was beautiful. Me and Shemail were there, and we got to walk around by ourselves. There was no one else there. And it's just these incredible Roman ruins, incredible statues, big theaters. There's no one there. The lady that sold us our ticket. I mean, it is in the middle of nowhere, but I can't believe that's not like a major tourist destination. And then we went to Ephesus, but Shemail got a little sick, so we didn't actually get to see Ephesus. We just hung out in the area, which was a great area. And then that's when we flew to Göbekli Tepe. Istanbul. Istanbul's a great city, man. I love Istanbul. I could spend a lot of time there. Great vegan food. They have dogs and cats that just are all over. I've never seen such an animal-friendly country in my life. Turkey is hands down the most animal-friendly country, especially Istanbul. Istanbul is the most animal-friendly city on earth. Hands down, without a doubt. There's no question even about that. I loved Istanbul. Oh, shit. You guys. So, well, all right. I'm going to Peru next month. I just got a flash of panic and realization just then that I'm going to Peru next month to drink ayahuasca. I'm going with Tom. You guys know Tom, your mate Tom, our mate Tom, our buddy, our Australian guy from down under, Tom. He's coming to Peru. We got invited to Peru by an ayahuasca retreat called Arcana. And Arcana, they hold these beautiful retreats, from what I can tell, in Iquitos, in the jungle, in the Amazon, and in Cusco in the Sacred Valley, near Machu Picchu. So we'll be doing 2-week-long ayahuasca ceremonies with Wachuma, and God, man, I'm very nervous about it because I'm like, yeah, I'll go. That's what I said at first. I'm like, yeah, I'll go. And he's accommodating us to go and film our experience. And I'm like, okay, I can't miss this opportunity. But now I'm questioning, like, what is my intention? Because the ayahuasca is going to bite my astral ass if I come in here thinking I'm hot shit and just doing it to do it. Ayahuasca is not a party drug. This is a gateway to the ethereal, the gateway to the astral, a doorway into a new dimension. It's a dimensional doorway. It's the speaker to the spirit world. You turn up the dial and all of a sudden here you are listening and being immersed into some kind of intelligence, a voice that speaks to you. the Gaian mind, some kind of shamanic entity. The ancestors. This is the voice of the ancestors. And ayahuasca, I don't believe will take it lightly if I'm disrespecting that. You gotta have a purpose and healing. So I'm questioning my intention. I just want love. I just want to heal the parts of myself that need to be healed, I guess. I don't know what needs to be healed. Show me what you need to show me, ayahuasca. It's going to be a trip. God, what did I get myself into? But I'm very excited to reconnect with Tom. Adam from Psych Substance might be going. So it's if the four of us go, and my friend Frank is going. So if the four of us go, it's going to be an incredible little time together. And I'll feel comfortable having some people there with me. Oh man, I get goosebumps thinking about it. I always told myself I'd take ayahuasca one day. I knew I would. But I always told myself I would only do it if it was in Peru with a legitimate shaman. And I was like, yeah, but when am I ever going to go to Peru? It's so far away. And then the plant comes calling. Maybe I am supposed to use my voice to amplify the needs of the jungle, to help save the jungle and to help awaken people through the medicine of the plant world. So for those of you that don't know what ayahuasca is, ayahuasca is this potion, a shamanic brew that invokes a world of kaleidoscopic color and confusion and freestanding new worlds that you didn't know existed, that seem to be previously happening while we're here simultaneously. It's a psychedelic. It's one oxygen molecule away. Well, DMT is just DMT. And if any of you know what psilocybin is, with the psychedelic compound that the psychoactive chemical in mushrooms, psilocybin, it's one oxygen molecule away from being DMT. DMT is a powerful endogenous psychedelic that we have found in different parts of our body, in our lungs, in our liver, in our brain. We have trace amounts of DMT. It could be one of the components that is responsible for us having visions while we sleep, what we call dreams. I don't know for sure, but the fact that it's found in our lungs gives an interesting case to breathing techniques. When you do these intense breathing rituals, yoga, and you have these psychedelic experiences, is it being triggered from the DMT in your lungs? I'm not sure. I don't know if it works like that, but it does make an interesting case that is, I guess, worth talking about. So we have this chemical inside of us is very similar to mushrooms, and it's found in all kinds of plants all over the world. And shamanic traditions have used these plants for healing and as a way to connect to some strange place. Maybe it's an inner dimension, maybe it's an outer dimension. I don't know for sure. Maybe there is no difference between those at all. But ayahuasca, DMT, if you smoke DMT, it lasts about 10 minutes. You're back in 20 minutes completely. Everything's back to normal. And like a dream, it just kind of fizzles away. You can kind of grab onto bits and pieces of it because, But ayahuasca is like a 5-hour DMT trip. It's extended. It lasts longer. And I'm excited. I keep going back and forth. I'm like, oh man, what am I getting myself into? Because I've been off the deep end of psychedelics before, and it's like, it's scary. I don't know how else to put it. It's scary. It's not like an experience I wish on anybody to just subject themselves to. But the world is a mystery, and I'm chasing that mystery. So we'll see what happens. And it'll be nice to see Machu Picchu. It'll be nice to explore the Sacred Valley in Cusco and sort of tune into that Incan energy. Mamacuna, Shamancuna, Kayariri. Sinchi, Sinchi, Corpacito. Sinchi, Sinchi, Almacita. Pachamama, Hanampacha, Winacocha. So that'd be cool. And then maybe, hopefully, it looks like Envision Festival is a music festival in Costa Rica, a bit of a rave. It's a good time. And they hit me up about potential collaboration for 2020. And that's in Costa Rica and Uvita. So hopefully I'll be going to Costa Rica. And if I go to Costa Rica, I applied to be a vendor also at Envision. So it looks like they might be wanting me to come out and do some talking or do some filming and vlogging. And I was like, okay, well, I also want to be a vendor if possible. So I can sell some things there. So if they do that, I'll be going to Mexico, buying some things to sell, then flying back to Costa Rica, and then yeah, I got some friends that live in Oaxaca, and they work at an artisan market. This market that sells handmade goods from it's like a way that people make their living in Oaxaca. They'll make these beautiful blankets, like this blanket behind me. Actually, is handmade, made from in Oaxaca in Mexico, and go and help support my friends, these artists in Mexico, and bring them to Costa Rica, sell some t-shirts at Costa Rica from Stabby Stay Weird. And hopefully that works out. That'd be nice. We can hang out in Costa Rica. For any of you guys that are going to Envision, or if any of you are thinking about going to Envision, it's a great community, great place to do some yoga, great jungle, beautiful jungle. I love Costa Rica, and I love Envision. And then I would love to go back to Mexico too. Oh man, that'd be my dream right there if it works out like that. If I go to Peru, then from Peru to Mexico, to Costa Rica, and then that'd be nice. That would be ideal. What else? What do we got to talk about? I got anything else to say? Yeah. Shit, I don't know. What's happening in the world right now? Trump's about to get impeached. I don't know anything about politics. I've been so out of the political world. Yeah, I mean, whatever. It's all a joke anyway. And we seem to be the punchline. I do kind of believe that these elites are all in it together. I think they know. I think they're all playing this game together. Where they are really kind of extracting our power and controlling us. And I really do believe that they use media and music and entertainment to control us also. I think that they push certain things. They push certain ideas, and they make certain ideas popular. And through that, they give us our narrative of who we are. And then once they give us the narrative of who we are, like, that's basically saying this is your place in the universe. And we accept the government. We accept these people as having some sort of role of authority. And really no one knows anything. But we just accept what they tell us. And through them saying who we are, they can do all kinds of stuff to us. Like, they can sell us things because they can convince us that we're not good enough. They can create this idea of scarcity or insecurity, and through that, they just play on our emotions. You know what I mean? Like, they have this unrealistic photoshopped beauty standard that men and women both try to follow, and it's not real. But they know that they know how to sell it to us and have us chasing this endless pursuit of self-discovery. That's ultimately what we're doing. We're ultimately seeking spirituality. We're seeking spirit, desperately calling out for some glimpse or grasp of self-realization. That's all this is. We're looking for ourselves, but we're looking for ourselves in all the wrong places. We're looking for ourselves in symbols and in ideas and bad ideas. But we need to look inward, or we need to look somewhere else, because we've been doing this for a long time and it's taken us nowhere but down a pathway of destruction and sadness and depression and addiction. And they don't want us to know who we are, because if we know who we are, then how can they sell us things? How can they have wars? They say you're a Christian and Christians don't like these types of people, and Jesus was an American and God bless America, and you're either with us or against us. And we become patriotic, and our tribal nature is taken advantage of and steered towards patriotism and used to justify things like war, where someone is just making a lot of money. At the end of the day, that's just what's going on. Is someone's getting rich off of us, and we give our lives, and they pull the profit. We pay the price. So, yeah, they know, man. Like, there's no way that someone like Trump or someone that has the kind of power like that, the kind of money like that they don't see through it. And it must be so intoxicating. It must be such a drug that they can't break from it enough to wake people up, because they're lost in it too, completely possessed by power. We talk about like demons and stuff like that, and people are like worried and scared to go in haunted houses and stuff like that. It's like America's fucking haunted right now. We have demons controlling the show. Demons are running the show right now, ladies and gentlemen. So and don't get too caught up in your own self too, because look at your life. Look at the stuff that we unknowingly take for granted, or the things that we do that are helping destroy other people's lives and planning. Like, what has to happen for us to live these lives we have of buying a new iPhone every 4 months, or having the latest cars and the newest clothes and new laptops and all this stuff, technology? To what extent are we what are we extracting for us to have this luxury? At whose cost? If you look around the world, most of the world does not have the luxury that we have here in America. And we live in such a bubble that we don't recognize that. Like, it's real hard for us to see, because we still have so many problems here in America. We got so many problems, so many social problems, so many huge political problems, and problems with our own selves and stuff. Like, we suffer just as much as anyone suffers. And you can have the most money in the world and still like be going through some shit, but we don't live in the real world. America is in a complete bubble by itself. And if you go to a place like India, and I've lived in India, you go to a place like the Middle East, Egypt, or even Jordan, or Palestine. I've been to Palestine. I mean, you go to these places where people, even Mexico, man, you go to these places where people are different. They have different problems. They still have problems, but they're different problems than the shit we focus on here. And they have more real world problems. Like, our problems are like being pissed off that the drive-through order is taking too long, or that the pizza guy is not here yet, or or my girlfriend cheated on me, or my Facebook got hacked. We live in these such strange circumstances that we let guide us through our experience as being a human being. Whereas a place like Mexico or India, the community is so tight-knit. Especially Mexico, I couldn't believe it. Like, being in Mexico, these people, surely they have problems, man. Like, these people are like farmers and stuff like that. It's got to be a shitty life to be a fucking farmer. But I mean, without them, how do I have the luxury to just sit on my ass and make a YouTube video? So like, these people are the real backbone of humanity. And but our problems pull us away from each other, where I feel like some of their problems pull them together. Like, my problems and your problems. And I'm sure on an individual level, most of us can vibe together. But as like a community, our problems here in America, they pull us apart. They divide us. They separate us. But in places where you have to deal with real issues of like, just maybe being in a more poor area, or being in an area that's not plagued by social media and all this stuff, there's a different type of love. When they look at you different. It's a different look. It's so weird. It's so strange. It's a different look. Oh, I love Mexico. I could see myself living there. Such a beautiful country, beautiful people. I can't believe that this country of the United States has done the smear campaign it has on Mexico. Mexicans, for those of you that didn't know, are Native Americans, you dickheads. This is their land. This is their lands. Think about, I live in Michigan, a place called Michigan. It's the north part of America, the Midwestern north part of America. And in Mexico, they have Michoacan. I think that's how you say it. It's a state in Mexico. You're going to tell me these people aren't related? Michigan and Michoacan. Oh, okay. And they both mean the same thing, like abundant water. So, supporting Mexico is supporting, we talk about Indigenous Day, and we talk about overcoming Columbus Day and all these things for indigenous rights. But, Mexicans, man, where are we standing up for our Mexicans? Because that is the indigenous people of this land. Not all of them, obviously, but it's, yeah, you know what I mean. What else can we talk about? A Place for Humans. Oh, man, we're back. We're back with the podcast. I have no excuse to why I wasn't making these podcasts. Laziness. Lazy. Yep. Well, this episode of A Place for Humans podcast was brought to you by Stay Happy, Stay Weird. And if you're watching me on YouTube right now, check this shirt out. It says, "Life's a trip and then you die." But you still got time. This is a Stay Happy, Stay Weird shirt. It's a t-shirt company that I own. So if you'd like to support the podcast, or you'd like to support my YouTube channel, or you just like a new t-shirt, Christmas is coming. A Place for Humans, 10% off, stayhappystayweird.com. You can get all kinds of really cool hippie or psychedelic t-shirts and cool t-shirts there. Stayhappystayweird.com. Your boy out here. What else is going on in the world? What's happening out there? Where did I spend Halloween at? Oh, I was in Cappadocia for Halloween. Cappadocia was cool. That's a place in Turkey. You see those pictures on Instagram where they have those big hot air balloons in like this kind of Star Wars looking place with these fairy chimneys is what they call them. That's Cappadocia. Cappadocia. Yeah, I love that place. It's like a honeymoon place. They've got good food there. Again, animal friendly. Yeah, I spent Halloween just chilling. Oh yeah, me and Shemile were just chilling. We were listening to some Halloween music, watching some funny YouTube videos. I miss Halloween. I miss caring about it as a kid. You know what I would like to do is spend to go back to Mexico. I'd like to spend Day of the Dead in Mexico. And there's something interesting. I'd have to look them up off the top of my head. Because I can't pull it off the top of my head, but there's Day of the Dead, All Hallows Eve. There's 5 more that are all a similar mythology of the holiday. So All Hallows Eve and Halloween and Day of the Dead is about this blending of the world where the spirits are allowed to come back. They're allowed to come back. It's where there's the veil lightens that day, and there's a bridge opens, a pathway from the spirit world to the earthly realm. And it's all about like giving thanks to the dead. And I heard someone talking about this, and I thought it was so interesting. I'd never heard this before, but that the cataclysmic events that would have wiped out our previous advanced civilizations, like Göbekli Tepe, for example, this is when that happened. Because all these holidays are around October, at the end of October, early November. And the cataclysmic event could have happened along that time. And the origin of Halloween and Day of the Dead is actually just a remembrance being passed down and echoed from that event. And it's a way for our ancestors to communicate with us that something happened a long time ago, and to remember this thing because it could happen again. So I thought that was a really cool and interesting idea, that the reason you find all these holidays that are similar in different cultures around the same time is that because there was a global cataclysm, a global flood or something. So, sorry, this chair's loud. I'm not farting. It sounds like I'm farting, but ooh. I don't fart. You guys know that. I'm North Korean. So, what else is going on in my life? Yeah, I was pretty much nervous about Peru. Hoping Ram Dass is doing okay. He's getting old, so he's been in my prayers a lot lately. Hope you're doing good out there, Ram Dass. That'll be a sad day when we lose him, man. Be a sad day. True legend. Oh, true legend. So humbled to have met him. There's a Ram Dass retreat going on right now. That's why I thought about that. In Hawaii. What else? Yeah, I don't know, man. That's pretty much it. So, I hope you guys liked this episode of A Place for Humans. We'll keep busting them out. We'll keep doing our best to keep on them. And I love you guys. Thanks so much for all the support. Make sure to please head over to iTunes or the Apple Podcast app and leave a 5-star review for your boy, okay? Please? That really helps. That helps get the podcast out there. Leave a 5-star review for your boy. And yeah, I need to get some new equipment because I'm basically just talking to my camera right now. I don't have any podcast equipment. The microphone I was using broke or something. I don't know what's wrong with it. I need to get a legit podcast microphone or two. And one for traveling. I'm thinking out loud right now. Okay, yeah, A Place for Humans, guys. Thanks for watching. Wow, we're back into this, and that felt good. That felt like a good episode. So, do I have anything else to say? No, that's pretty much it. I'll keep anything else I have to say for the next episode. So until then, thank you guys for watching. I am your host, Dakota, and yeah, this is my podcast, A Place for Humans. And you are a human, and this is a place, so welcome to the neighborhood. See you guys next time. Subscribe. Oh, that felt good.